Hello and welcome to Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. I'm Becky Parker Geist and I'm your host. Audiobook Connection is your place to learn about the audiobook creative process and for authors to learn valuable tips on producing and marketing your audiobooks. This podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Hi, I'm Becky Parker Geist, and I want to thank you for joining me today on Audiobook Connection. We're going to focus on distribution and the marketing messages that you are sending out and how and where for your audiobook. In my last episode of Audiobook Connection, I talked about making conscious choices for distribution, and I will cover a little bit of that today. But if you haven't heard that episode, I encourage you to take a moment to go listen to that. I was talking with a client just in the last couple days who was concerned about the messages that she had sent out about her audiobook being recently released. And her concern was around the idea that the messages that she had sent out were either incomplete or inaccurate, when in fact, that wasn't the case. They were accurate, and they actually opened up some possibilities rather than it being a problem. So I'm going to touch on how you might be experiencing that yourself and some things that you can do, and just as a way of thinking about the messages that you are sending out. First of all, let me define that, like the messages that you are sending out. There are many ways that we're communicating through our marketing. And every way that we communicate about our audiobooks are communicating. They're all marketing. Every way that we are sending a message is marketing. Okay, so let's talk about some of the channels, the avenues that we use to communicate the messages that we want to send out there. Certainly, most people initially think about social media. Social media obviously has become a major communication means in our current times, and it is one potentially effective way to reach your audience and help them find you and your content. I say potential mostly because there's no guarantee that you're just going to, if you put something out there, especially if you just do it one time, that anybody will make enough note of it or pay attention enough from a single post that it's going to do any good at all. Social media is a social platform. They're all social platforms. They're all designed for interaction, for ongoing communication, for building relationships through those online platforms. And the way in which we do that keeps changing. And I know that can be really frustrating for someone who doesn't particularly want to spend a lot of time doing social media and may be frustrated by having to constantly keep learning new things or doing things slightly different because the platform is changing. And that really is the nature of things in marketing. You can consider it an exciting way that we're communicating. In other words, you can look at those ongoing changes as opportunities rather than challenges, and it's all really about mindset. But now let's also, so that's just one avenue though, social media. Another is our email marketing, and this continues to be one of the most effective ways to market. So building that email list, or often feels like at least, the biggest challenge for authors as they're trying to, okay, well, you're starting out, you put up a website, right? That's sort of typically one of the first things you realize you need to do. And you do need to have a website. That's important. Your website is like your marketing hub, right? We'll talk more about that. But when you have your website up there, one of the most important things that website can be doing for you is building your email list, creating a place where people can sign up for updates from you, for other kinds of content from you. And then as you reach out to those people on a regular basis, yes, that's helpful too. I know marketing is, it's always about ongoing activity. It really is. So if you can kind of take a deep breath and settle into that and accept it and look for the ways in which you can enjoy that, just as you might enjoy having regular conversations with your friends, right? Think of it that way. Okay, so we've talked about social media marketing as one avenue, one channel. Email marketing is another channel. And there are many others, including in-person communications. That might be networking at live events or online events. It might be events that you hold either live in person or online, which could be live online or could be recorded online and shared. This can also include your website. And so let's dive in just a little bit into the website piece, because this is important. This is one of the main things that we're going to cover in terms of how we're going to make conscious choices in our distribution and marketing. Okay. So your website, as I said, is and should be, I think, treated as your kind of marketing hub. It is the place where you want to direct people to learn more about you, your books, your products and services, and it is the platform that you have the most control over. Social media platforms may come and go. They may show your messages and posts or not, and you don't really have much control over that. They can make all of your content just disappear, because when you put it on those social media platforms, you are essentially giving up the control of that particular content, right? But on your website, you have a lot more control. Yes, there's the possibility that your website could crash or someone may hack it, and there are things that you can do to mitigate both of those things. And of course, ultimately, we don't have the control over the internet, right? But your website is the main place where you do have the most control. So you want to maximize that. And when we're talking about the distribution of your audiobooks and how you're going to make a conscious choice and make a difference for yourself and the world, here's what I'm talking about. On your website, you should have the different formats of your book, print, ebook, audiobook, whatever formats you have it in, as well as any other information you may want your followers or potential followers to know about you. That could be more about who you are as a person. It could be how you got started in your business. It could be why you chose to write your book in the first place. It could be there's lots of information that you may want to share, but your website is that central hub of information. It should also connect to your social media platforms to make it easy for people to both find you on those platforms where you plan to be active, and also make it easy for your followers to then share your content on their profiles or on their feeds on social media. But let's focus in even further. Where are you sending your potential customers when they're on your website and they want to buy your book or your ebook or your audiobook? Where are you sending them? And here, I think, is where so many authors make an assumption that is a mistake. And that is, they typically will think, oh, well, everybody's going to just get it from Audible, so that's where I'll send them. And that is the mistake. Why? It's a mistake for a number of reasons. First of all, it's an incorrect assumption. And especially in today's world, with what's going on in Washington, there are an increasing number of people who are making a statement with their purchase choices. They are saying, I no longer want to support the abuse of Amazon workers. I no longer want to support the oligarchy and Jeff Bezos. I no longer want to put my money in the pockets that are going to keep feeding the billionaire that is a part of this, what do I call it, scenario that is playing out. Now, some people might be in support of what's going on. And if that's the case, if you are in support of that and you do want to keep putting your money into the pocket of Jeff Bezos, then, and you've got your customers directed to Audible, then maybe that is the right choice for you. If, however, you actually would like to earn a decent return on your audiobook investment, if you're not happy about what's happening in Washington, then these are reasons to choose differently in terms of that link. And it's that link that is the main thing. That's the main point here. Where you send your listeners for your audiobook purchase is where they're typically going to go. And I'll address the assumption in a slightly different way as well. So they're typically going to click on the link that you provide them. It's like, buy my audiobook now. They're going to click on that link, and where is it going to take them? All right. So if it's taking them to Audible, if they are already Audible subscribers, then you have probably delivered them exactly where they want to go. If they're a subscriber on some other channel, for example, audiobooks.com or libro.fm or Barnes & Noble or any number of other places, and there are a lot of other audiobook retailers, then you have not delivered them in a helpful place. If they are subscribers on one of the other platforms, the other audiobook retailers, they will then choose to go away from where you've just sent them and purchase it, on the website where they are already subscribers. Well, now you've given them a little bit of a misdirection, and you've kind of told them when you put that link to Audible on there, it's kind of saying to them, this is where I want you to buy it. Is that the best choice for you? Audible, keep in mind, pays the lowest royalties and offers the least controls. But let's just talk about royalties for a second. There is a huge difference between what is paid out in royalties when a sale happens at exactly the same price, when it happens on Audible or if it happens on Amplify audiobooks. And they're in sort of the in-between places where you earn more than you would on Audible, but not as much as you would on Amplify. So just as an example, for a book that, let's say, sells for $14.95 on Audible, a typical price of a credit, you're going to end up with about 17% of that total amount. You're going to get a higher percentage, so somewhere around, $250-ish approximately from Audible. And then I think it's a little less than that. But on Amplify, you'd be getting $9.72 for each copy. So that's big. When you start adding it up and start accumulating more and more sales, you can see how quickly that difference, that 3 or 4 times difference, is going to really matter to you. And then in between, those other distributors may be closer to like $5, so maybe about twice as much as Audible's going to pay, but still only about half of what Amplify is going to pay. So we're looking at a number of things here. I want to just reiterate this, then we're going to take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk about some other things that are also related and more about the messaging. Okay, so the main takeaway from this first part of the episode is that whatever link you put on your website for people to buy your audiobook is where you're telling your followers you want them to buy. And I highly recommend that you get your audiobook onto Amplify audiobooks so that you can reap the rewards and have the control that that you don't get anywhere else. And so use your link to amplify audiobooks on your website. Now, if you put your audiobook on Amplify and then you leave the link on your website pointing to Audible, mistake, right? You're missing out. You're misdirecting your people. So it's really important to make these changes and make them as a strategic step together. All right. So that is the main thing, and just about making conscious choices. Let's take a short pause, and we'll come right back, and we're going to talk some more about the messaging. Would you like to earn more from your audiobook sales? If you're an author with an audiobook, you may have noticed that royalties from Audible especially, and other platforms as well, are frankly kinda pathetically low, disappointingly low, and unfairly low considering what it cost you in effort and resources to create it. How is it the retailers are the ones making all the money off your work and investment? As someone who started in the audiobook industry in 1981, I've found it frustrating that authors keep getting shortchanged. The good news is that Pro Audio Voices just launched Amplify Audiobooks, a direct sale audiobook platform for authors that puts you back in the driver's seat. Earn 65% of the gross sales price that you set. Compare that to the percentage of the percentage that retailers give. Run promotions on schedule whenever you want. Create coupon codes. Build community with your customers, since you'll know who they are and how to contact them. Work with a caring, responsive, supportive team to help you succeed all along the way. Get help with marketing. Get paid weekly. We're helping audiobook authors who are frustrated by painfully low royalties and the barriers that prevent them from managing their own products and customers. Amplify Audiobooks is a direct sale platform that enables authors to earn much higher royalties and have way more control. We're disrupting the audiobook industry by putting authors first. Get started today at proaudiovoices.app or go to proaudiovoices.com and click on the Distribution Amplify link. Join the movement. Okay, so we've got now, let's say we've got your website with your link to your audiobook pointing to your product, your audiobooks on Amplify Audiobooks. That's great. Now, let's talk about the messaging that sometimes, I'm going to come back to what happened for one of our clients who was starting to feel upset about that maybe she had misstepped in her marketing messages. So she'd sent out a couple emails already, and she had sent out a message that her audiobook was on Amplify, and then sent out another message that the audiobook had shown up on Audible. And all of that is great. Remember, if you do that same process where you start, and I highly recommend this, let your first message to your core followers that you want them to purchase it on Amplify Audiobooks, and let them know why. Because we are all together. It's a movement. It's about educating our audiobook customers about why this is a better choice. Amplify Audiobooks doesn't cost more for the listener. In fact, it can cost less depending on how you choose to price it. But let them know that they'll earn from that you will, as the author, will have a much better return for the expenses that you have spent on the project. And we can provide guidelines on how that message can be stated. But there is a component of education that is really, really helpful here, because we want our customers as well, our audiobook listeners, we want all of us to be making these conscious choices. So that second message is fine when you say, okay, and now it's also on Audible, because we know that there are a lot of people who want to buy it on Audible. I contend that if they understood how abusive Audible is and why that is not a good choice overall, big picture, that they might make a different choice. But it's fine to send out that message letting people know that it's on Audible and reminding them. Don't forget to remind them that it's also most beneficial to you that if they purchase it through Amplify Audiobooks. Okay, now here's where the confusion came in for this one person I'm mentioning, and that is the audiobook's also available on a whole lot of other platforms, like Libro.fm and Spotify and audiobooks.com and Barnes & Noble and in libraries, and it's just broadly available on all the different platforms, which is great because people subscribe to those other platforms or prefer them for whatever reason. Now, for example, Libro.fm has established a give back positive relationship with bookstores, independent bookstores, so that the independent bookstores have a smooth process through which they can sell audiobooks and deliver them using the Libro.fm system. And that's great. So if you have a real passion for that kind of support of independent bookstores, then you might want to direct your traffic there on your website, remember? Keep in mind as well that they do pay more than Audible in terms of royalties, but still not as much as Amplify Audiobooks. And you're still not going to have the level of control, being able to say definitively, this is the price that you choose, being able to put it on sale, being able to offer discount codes of any kind, and knowing who actually purchases your audiobooks. Those are all available just through Amplify. But these are choices that you will need to make. And I wanted to bring them up to consciousness, bring them to your attention so that you can make the choice that works best for you. Okay, now let's say that you have had your audiobooks just on Audible, and now you're going to expand that and you're going to add Amplify Audiobooks or any other, or maybe all of those other channels where it's available. This is a good opportunity to alert your followers that, hey, now it's available over here or over here. You're bringing them news. And if you think of it as, oh dear, now I've given them inaccurate information about it only being available in this one place, and now I'm telling them it's something else. No, it's update, it's news, it's good news. And you want to share that good news. So think about that as we want to look for these opportunities to provide good news to our followers, right? And each of these, and to have, so we're not, if we want to send a message and remind them about our audiobooks, it's not always, oh yeah, and don't forget, buy my audiobook. That's not as positive or as helpful a consistent message going on. But when you can bring new news to them, actual news, then you're providing a service to them. Now, one of the other things I wanted to mention about which platform you're going to direct your listeners to. Let's say that you have it broadly distributed, but you're not on Amplify Audiobooks, and for whatever reason you choose not to put it there. I want to encourage you to know your audience and to be vocal to that audience. If you know, for example, that your audience is mostly people who are being attacked right now, women, minorities, people who are LGBTQ+, or who are ostracized in any number of ways, who have disabilities, people who are really feeling the pressure right now of having their rights taken away, having their support systems and financial support systems taken away. These are people who, while they may still have the resources and to purchase audiobooks, may not realize that where they purchase makes a difference. They will want to know. So know your audience. Be vocal to them. If that's not, that's just an easy example for me to give. If your audience is fully in support of the oligarchy, you might want to put the message that you're directing people to Amazon because that is ensuring that Jeff Bezos will be able to continue his work as part of the oligarchy. That's not my choice and not one that I would make. But that's me. And I am being openly, honestly, transparently vocal about that. I feel like those of us who are not happy with what's going on need to be vocal. And this is a way that I, as a leader in the audiobook industry and the founder of Amplify Audiobooks, how I can make a difference. And that's my intention. I started with my team, a wonderful team of people. This whole initiative of Amplify Audiobooks really came about because I was listening to what our customers wanted and needed, and also seeing how abusively low the royalties have been in the traditional model, the model set in place really by Audible and then picked up by pretty much all the other retailers, that is, I feel, abusive. We're creators. We authors and audiobook producers and narrators, we're creative people who need each other. And this is where what I'm suggesting is that we pull together as a community and support each other in this community. I hope that this has been helpful. And please, if you have questions, please reach out to me. We're at proaudiovoices.com. And you can schedule a call to talk about your particular audiobook project, getting it into distribution with us or getting it into production with us. And I'm also very active on several social media platforms, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, Facebook and Instagram, even on TikTok. So we're out there. And my intention on being on all those platforms is to build relationships, to share with people what we're up to and why. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for joining us for Audiobook Connection, behind the scenes with the creative teams. Please take a moment to subscribe at audiobookconnection.com. The podcast is sponsored by Pro Audio Voices, helping great stories come alive through audiobook production and marketing. Learn more at proaudiovoices.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and please join us next week.